undergrad in computer science engineering from Montana State University. And I started working for Honeywell out of school on one of their operating systems in Los Angeles. And Honeywell got purchased, their computer division got purchased by Bull Information Systems, which is a French computer company. And my project ended up coming here to Arizona. So that's how I ended up in Arizona. And worked there for quite a while, and very fun doing operating system, email development, cool things like that. Got to work in France, which was fun. And then I got recruited by American Express because they were looking for somebody who knew email. And while I was doing that, I was dabbling with internet stuff on the side with a friend. And I got to be part of the team that launched the first website for American Express. So yeah, so very early internet days, like back when they thought that the internet was the CB radio of technologies, which is kind of funny to think now, you know, that they just really didn't know what the heck we were doing. And from that, we built up the whole internet web presence for American Express, which was super fun and super entrepreneurial, and probably my first like real taste in kind of a startup type culture, because we were, it was greenfield. So we were doing whatever we, could as fast as we could. And I worked for American Express for many years, doing everything from database to moving data centers. But my last role was with a project called Plenty, which we had bought a startup out of Germany called Payback. And that's where I really got the startup bug again, because it was like a startup within a large corporation. And so it was super fun. Unfortunately, the product didn't do as well as we would have liked. And I said, wow, when I had the opportunity to take a package, I said, yeah, I think I want to do this and I want to jump into startup. And so that's how I made the big transition from big corp to startup land. It was better than I expected. And I account for a lot of that is that I am with some really great founders. They have had several successful exits. And so they know how to run a startup. They know how to do the investment. They know a lot of the pitfalls, and they have very good guidance from their board. So I feel very fortunate to have landed with a really great team of founders. And it's wonderful working in something that that's really mission driven. So our product, Drowsel, is an FDA approved diagnostic for sleep apnea, where you use your smartphone to record your sleep breathing at night. And we, with our patented algorithm, can pick up your sleep breathing habits and be able to determine your risk of obstructive sleep apnea. So, going from financial services to really helping people have a healthier life is really cool. The biggest difference is that you bring your whole self to work. In a corporate environment, there's so many people and so many departments, and things get segmented that oftentimes you're slotted into a certain role, and it teaches you great teamwork skills because you need, everyone to come together to make things happen. But oftentimes you don't get to bring all the skills that you have to play. I have a master's in international management, but I was on the technology team. So my business acumen wasn't, able to be brought to the table. In a startup, it's all hands on deck. everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction and you're chipping in however you can. And it really makes you hone your skills, because you get very current and very on top of things very quickly. And it's really joyful to be able to bring your whole skill set to the table. And I found it so energizing, and it's very exciting. I love it. The biggest similarity is there's certain disciplines that still matter. Process matters. A lot of people think, oh, it's just, free for all and foosball tables with startups. But reality is time is the most valuable thing you have in a startup. And so process discipline is still incredibly important. And one of the biggest things that I think coming from a corporate environment into startup is knowing how to set up processes and how to set up things for scalability. So taking those skills into the startup world is really important, because a lot of times if you don't bring that in, you're going to hit a wall, particularly with technology, where you have to just re-architect everything because you can't grow fast enough. So that's incredibly important. Communication never goes away. The importance of communication and teamwork and relationships, and being able to build relationships. I think one of the funner things about the startup world is that oftentimes in a corporation, you're spending a lot of time building relationships within the corporation, but within a startup, you're building relationships with the community and people outside of your organization. And that networking outside of the company has been really rewarding and fun, and just being tighter into like the Phoenix business community has been great. The transition of really risk, like, you in a corporate environment, a lot of risk is taken out of your way. Money risk, redundancy of resources, being able to get somebody knowledgeable that you need to get through things. And it comes all down to you in the startup world. And so you have to figure out how to de-risk things really quickly. You have to jump in there and figure out how to deal with problems with a lot less resources. For instance, in technologies, you never want to have just one person who knows the system. But in a startup, oftentimes you're stuck with one person who knows the system. So you have to really figure out ways to de-risk things with limited resources, and just get over the fear of, okay, nobody knows how to do this. We're just going to jump in and learn it and figure it out. And even though that can kind of make your heart stop for a moment, it's really rewarding, because you can go in there and tackle those fears and de-risk those things. And you expand your toolkit all at the same time. But at first it's like, oh, okay, that's got to get done, and it's me that's going to have to get it done. And it's incredibly rewarding, but at first you just kind of have to buck up and do it. I think building on the past response, it's really that feeling of being more current and more relevant, because you're not, particularly being an executive in a large corporation, you're relying on your subordinates oftentimes to be the ones bringing in the new knowledge, and you have to stay up to speed on things. But you really have to be up to speed on things in a startup environment. You have to be deep as well as wide, and so you feel very much like your toolkit has expanded. And I have this speech that I've done a lot of times called "Sidekick to Superhero." It's about women in the workforce and how oftentimes in a corporate environment you have a sponsor, which you're like the great sidekick to that sponsor, right? And you help them be successful. But if that sponsor goes away, all of a sudden it's on you to be the leader and to push things forward. In a startup, you're the superhero. You have to be upfront. You have to lead. You have to get things done. And it's exhilarating. And it really makes you have just a very relevant toolkit, and so you feel like you're impacting the bottom line much stronger. So you can't sit on the sidelines. You just got to be in it. And it's great fun. If you enjoy that, it is so much fun. The advice I would give is, what do you really want out of your career? Because one thing about startups is it isn't about the money. You almost definitely will be making less money than you would if you stayed with your corporate path. Unless of course the startup makes big, and that can happen. But if you're really wanting that fulfillment of feeling like you're making an impact, and you really believe in the mission of the startup, and you really want to, get in there and bring your whole self to work every day, then the startup world is something that you're going to really, really enjoy. It is fabulous to have a team of people that are all rowing the boat in the same direction and wanting to get something done. And so it's a ton of fun, but you better be ready to get your hands dirty, and you better want to do it for the love of doing it. There's nothing about being in a startup that's about the paycheck. I would say take the risk. My 25-year-old self was very risk adverse in when it came to the career. It was like you got out of college, you interviewed with a bunch of companies, and you got your job. And I really wish I had kind of known about the startup world and had been involved in startups, because I think my skill set would be even stronger than it is today from how fast you have to learn things. So I've seen some of the fresh outs we've brought in from, we've had tremendous luck from ASU and from other colleges, and I see how quickly their skill set grows, because they can do so much more in a small company than they could in a large company. They don't have as much mentorship, but the amount of learning that they get about business as well as about technology is amazing. And I wish I could have nudged my 25-year-old self to, gone to Silicon Valley and had gotten started with some of the startups, way back in the day. I think I would have, I feel like I found my tribe in the startup world, and I think I could have found that tribe sooner.